Do you know what it feels like? Have you ever thought to feel it? Truly experience? You'd have to think to feel it now, I believe. You'd have to actually focus your mind to find the moment. I can't understand how anyone can live like that. Everything. We can feel everything. And somehow you make that the hinterland between forbidden and boredom. How could you? Why would you? I can't get...
Hi, my name's Sam Chittenden. I'm a playwright and artistic director of Different Theatre based in East Sussex. I think that having accessible spaces where people can develop and stage new theatre work is part of the lifeblood of new work and of supporting new and developing artists. We wouldn't have a vibrant West End or a regional theatre ecology if it wasn't for that pipeline. And those spaces enable us to take theatre to a much wider range of places and audiences.
Creativity and having creative spaces and accessible spaces on a personal level is the most important thing that's ever happened to me. I come from not a diverse but a working class Irish background, and for some unknown reason in my strict Catholic school in about year 6 or year 5 we got an absolutely radical teacher who took us to see Charles Maravich in the open space, and I've had a love for fringe ever since. I wasn't taken to musicals. I'd never seen one or a pantomime. What I had seen was great theatre, and then I went on to Manchester University, where I was steeped in the 70s experimental theatre, which I still love. But what we had there was a thing called Studio Group, and it was just like a church space, a church hall, and every Monday was Studio Group. You booked it and you did something, and it could be polished, it could be experimental, but it wasn't Pygmalion or the Mousetrap. It was there to create work as well as to perform work, and people saw it but didn't pay to come in.
Rehearsal space is incredibly important to actors, writers, directors. Without a space, we have no room to explore or discover or play. For me, I would not be touring Jekyll and Hyde at all, both internationally and in the UK, without having seriously rehearsed in rehearsal space first. Jekyll and Hyde is incredibly physical, so I needed room to physically just be able to move, to understand the language of the piece both physically and verbally, and to play with that language. And you need a safe rehearsal space to be able to do that, to just make noise and feel the words in your mouth, and for the writer to hear those words and to see it in front of them for the first time, because for them, they've only seen it on text, and then suddenly in a rehearsal space it's there in front of them, which might mean that they actually want to make some edits, or they want to change certain bits, or the actor has done something or said something slightly different which has made them want to alter the language. It's just incredibly important for everyone around. And I am incredibly lucky to have been able to access those spaces, and it should be something for everyone to be able to have. Because without rehearsal spaces, the pieces have no room to expand. The actors have nowhere to play and move, and the writers don't have the chance to see their work in front of them for that, It shouldn't be done that the first time they see their work is the final product, especially if they want to be part of that process. So yes, the spaces are incredibly key to any live theatre show.
Having accessible theatre spaces to create work in is essential for an artist such as myself, for anybody who isn't amongst the privileged few, in order that we can have a voice and have any kind of impact in the world. Otherwise we have an industry which far too often, as is the case, is dominated by those who are born into money or are privileged enough to have support of wealthy people. It's increasingly challenging world out there. So not only do creative people need the resources of space and of support in that way, in order that their stories can be heard and they can tell the stories of others, or that they have the space to create themselves. It's immensely important for audiences to have access to that work, for us all to have each other, because one of the most crucial things in this crazy world is the quality of empathy, and nothing trains the heart to be empathic, or the mind to be empathic, or wherever you think empathy comes from. Nothing trains that more than theatre. Nothing will put you in the shoes of another person to walk that path for a while, more than theatre can. Sure, you can go and watch a movie, but there's a separation there. And what small-scale theatre does, and the kind of theatre that we're actually able to make with very little, if you just give us a space and fellow artists to work with, is something so immediate. It's something stripped of all of the frills of more upscale productions, or the kinds of things that you might see in the bigger theatres in London.
The sensations of the world, the taste and the sounds and the touch. How could you know when to stop? How do you know where to start? Each night, she, the ever-educating she, the she who must be obeyed, my one and only she.
For audiences, having affordable and accessible shows means that a wider range of people are able to go to the theatre. And they're also able to go to more things and take greater risks with their choices. So they might watch work in development or edgier, exciting shows, rather than investing all their ticket money in something that they perceive as a safe bet.
Kind of open, accessible and affordable theatre that we're able to produce is tangible and real, and performed in such a way that connects so directly with people. And we have a chance to be, as artists, we have a chance to be close to our audiences, literally, physically, and emotionally, and mentally, and to have a conversation there. So that's what is incredibly important for us as artists, for audiences, and for society as a whole, to have accessible and affordable creative spaces, and for those spaces to be available all over the country, so that we can tour and so that we can reach people.
Accessibility is so important to me, and in terms of audiences, we know the love of popular opera with working class people, for example, of arias, but the elitism is terrifying for people, and it's not just financial. We all know that it probably costs more to go and see I don't know, Mamma Mia or something, than it does to go to the Opera House or to Sadler's Wells. I mean, you can get 30 quid tickets. There needs to be an opportunity for people to not only be entertained, and there is nothing wrong with entertainment, but theatre, art, literature, it changes your hearts, your minds. I know that sounds like a cliche. I really think that when people see opera, ballet, theatre as elitist, they think it's not for people like me, but actually it's exactly for people like us. What it isn't going to do is change minds and hearts of people who've got more money than sense anyway, quite frankly, who go to say, oh yes, did you see the such and such, wasn't it marvellous? We're all a bit like that, but it's about changing your heart. And to have accessible spaces, and I mean financially, to have physically accessible spaces, which is difficult with things like fringe theatre, because I'm a massive lover of fringe and traditional theatres as well. And I think the problem is so many of them, particularly festival places or whatever, you take over buildings that don't have accessibility lifts and stuff like that. And I think for people with differing abilities, it's crucial that that's sorted out. But what it does for audiences, it makes everything richer when you've got subtitles, surtitles, when you've got some stuff on headphones. People are integrating that so that there is a richness in the work that is better than just being there on a special day for people with disabilities. So, you know, we need physical accessibility, we need financial accessibility, and we need to reach the people that theatre has always been for. The Greek people, the Shakespearean people, the groundlings. It's not supposed to be an elite thing.
Each night she knows to let go, face the clippage of her dull life, her vacant morbidity of a life. A life that everyone seems to choose and constrain themselves within. She stares it square in the eye and runs all the way back into me. Why wouldn't you? I'd run a mile in anyone's shoes to be free of this
If I hadn't had access to affordable spaces, I would probably never have started making theatre independently. I certainly wouldn't have taken so many risks with my work, as I would have been anxious to only stage things that I was pretty confident I could get an audience for. Working with supportive venues has enabled me to push myself creatively, leading to some really exciting work and great feedback from audiences.
As to what difference having space to create and perform work has to my career, is really making my own work and touring with my own work internationally, which has been the bedrock of my career, and that's what I built my reputation on, was my own work. It's very difficult, unless you're very, very fortunate to be busy as an actor or any kind of artist, unless you're also able to make your own work. And I've been extremely fortunate to have been granted the opportunity to do that. A lot of the work I've made has not had funding. Most of the work I've made has actually not had funding, so I've made it. It's part of the aesthetic of most of the shows that I make, that they're very minimalist. And that's partially out of necessity, but it does mean that you're left with this sense of, you know, player, audience and space, and that's the most important dynamic there. But I've been able to see the world and travel the world with my little shows, and none of that would have been possible if I hadn't had that very simple thing, that access to spaces. It's simple, but not to be taken for granted, because especially since lockdown, there's less and less of that sort of resource available. Many spaces closed. Spaces are looking for ways they can bring more money in. So any opportunity to just have a space to work in, to have support, the freedom to make work. You know, it's the difference between buying a fish and teaching someone to fish, you know, and I've been fishing with my shows for quite a while now. And they might be small, but I know that they have an impact on the people who see them, and it's had a huge impact on my life that has completely transformed my life. And I'm very grateful for it.
You can make your own work. Anyone can make their own work. It's difficult if there's a financial risk. You cannot wait for the powers that be to give you work. So if there's a communal space, a community space, any space where you can create and show things, this is just amazing for people. Without festival spaces, without fringe spaces, I would not have a career. I don't consider that I have a career. I hope that I can call myself an artist, a creator. Creator. I sound like either Jesus or that somebody the creator is a rapper. But anyway, everyone is a creator. I was a teacher for many years. We're all creators. If you can give spaces that people can make work and then show their work, it's unbelievable. I didn't know you could do that for many, many years. I thought you had to be asked by a theatre to come and work with them. And it's opened up a complete new life for me, an absolute new life of And it's opened my work up to going abroad as well, going to places I'd never been before, because there is a great community in community or fringe or festival theatre. And although I rehearse frequently on my own, not on my own, with a director, I really think a director is crucial, but it's in his house or my house. And that's fantastic financially. It's free. The director isn't free, but the space is. But there is something about going in and making work in somewhere, and that work is going to maybe be shown there as well, or there's an opportunity for at least to show a few minutes of it. I think all that is crucial to my career, it's crucial to society, and we cannot lose these spaces. It's so important to people. It's not for the elite. The elite don't need it. But working class, diverse, people with different abilities, LGBTQ+, trans people, that's the world we're in. And the whole point of theatre is to reflect the world we're in. We need more spaces and more accessibility. And thank you very much.
You can taste time. Time given, time past. You get to drink down decades of effort and act like it's nothing at all. How dare anyone not let themselves know what it is to feel? Every day could be strawberries and jawbones.